So welcome everybody. My name is Tracy Stroup. I am co-owner of Wellness Innovated, and we're so pleased to have Michelle Wingle here with us tonight. She is a healer and a health coach and just an extraordinary woman, and has such an amazing technique with understanding the underlying issue with losing weight, or what I like to call releasing weight, because if we lose it, we can find it again. So Michelle, I'm not going to talk a lot. Nobody really wants to hear me. But just a few notes for everybody. Please keep yourself muted during the presentation. We will unmute you for questions. You should have received in your email a link to an awesome workbook that Michelle has provided for this group. Thank you very much for that. And we're going to be utilizing that tonight as we work through some meditations to find out which body our weight is stuck. So Michelle, without further ado, take it away. I'm going to mute myself. And thank you for being here, and everybody for taking the time tonight for caring for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate all that you have done. I just want to take a moment and really add my gratitude along with Tracy's. I really appreciate the fact that you've taken your time, not for me, but for yourself, to really give yourself the opportunity to listen to what you need. And what I've prepared tonight is different than I've ever experienced anywhere else. It's different, new information. It's a new way of thinking about weight release, which I loved when we were discussing this. I loved Tracy talking about that concept. And but we're going to look at that tonight. Tonight, we want to actually, my goal is to actually have some movement within you as far as a direction to head. I want this to be an experience that that actually adds to your life, not just informational. So we will do what I call the 4 bodies meditation toward the end, and where we go into each of these bodies that we have and see what's happening in those bodies. So just a little bit about myself. In 2011, I was featured in Women's Health magazine for weight loss that I had had. And it was an interesting experience. By the time the magazine came out, it was just a 1-sheet interview, just kind of back and forth questions. But it took probably about 6 hours of interview to get that 1 page. Because every time we talked about what I did, it was different. I didn't just have certain foods I ate. I just didn't have a certain workout I did. And so for about several years, I didn't really have a vocabulary to explain what happened when I lost this weight. And about 2014, I started getting into what people call the energy world, learning a little bit about energy medicine or integrated health or alternative medicines, holistic health, those kind of things. And all of a sudden, I was given the vocabulary to explain what I had experienced with my weight loss. What had happened, I had birthed 4 children, and I didn't love the way I looked, but I felt like that was as good as I could get because I birthed these children. And so I was focusing at the time on accepting myself, which was such a great thing to do. Just accepting where I was. And then one day I had a friend they had had some medical tests and had decided that some weight needed to come off in order to address these medical issues. And so she became very public with her weight loss. And it really worried me on her behalf, because she was telling everybody what she was doing, and I couldn't believe she was willing to experience that in front of the world. And what if she had failed? And looking back now, that was a perfect time for me to step inside myself and look at these beliefs that I was carrying. But one day I saw her, and I don't know what it was about that moment, but it was several months later, and she had lost a good amount of weight, and it showed. And in that moment, I had an impactful mind blow, where I all of a sudden saw my false beliefs, what I had created for myself. And that was the beginning of my journey. And so, and like I say, I was later interviewed for Women's Health magazine. And then as I got my credentials I'm a master energy therapist. I have I'm a Reiki master, Karuna Reiki master. I have my Munakai shamanic rites, and I have a natural healing certificate. As I received those modalities and understandings, then I was given the understanding to what I had done for myself somehow with this, with losing my own weight. And because what I had realized in the process, it was more of a healing process. And that's what I like to consider it is, the thing about weight or anything at the time, in that moment when something is happening at that time, that is needed, that moment of food or of inactivity, all the things that we consider the culprits, those were the beliefs, we'll get into that, but those things were needed at that moment. And so it's more of a necessary for healing than it is for anything else. And I find that most plans or systems do one thing. They address the physical body, and most of the time there's abuse to the physical body. That's one of the major ways that this kind of experience is gone about. Weight loss happens, and I think that's why we find it again, is because instead of going through and working through the different issues, we abuse one of the bodies, the physical body. And I have come to find out that sometimes the weight doesn't exist in that physical body. And it kind of takes a mind shift to think that way. But there's definitely times in our lives that bring into our experience something different, and it's untangible at this point what to call it and why. But these four bodies are real important to us. So I want to talk about those for a few minutes. One thing I wanted to talk about is, one of the biggest problems with weight loss, the idea of weight loss, is we have what we call plateaus. And this was one of my biggest aha moments, is the idea that the plateau, whenever we hit a plateau, the idea is to push harder, we reduce more calories, and we exercise twice as hard, and we push through these, there's an accepted idea of push through these plateaus. And, one day I was sitting there thinking, in my experience, I gained a little of weight here when I had my first baby, and there was some trauma with that. I gained a little bit of weight here. There was different things that I had gained my weight. And, when it was time to come off, I want all of it to come off at the same time and to just come off all at once. And I just had this understanding that what if those plateaus was kind of the leveling off of that particular experience or whatever. Just the idea that getting it on comes in increments, getting it off, we need to allow those increments to happen too. So just kind of, those are the kind of mind shifts I'm hoping to kind of create tonight. So I'm going to start off by explaining my idea of the four bodies. I'm going to go in here. So we each have a body. We have our body, and it's made up of four different types that create our whole experience. So one's not necessarily more important than the other, but they work together to create our everyday experience. So we have our spiritual body. So an explanation of our spiritual body is, it is the higher self, it's the true self, the peace of God that dwells in us. It affects the reaction of the other bodies. It vibrates at the highest scale and supports and helps define the other bodies. So what I mean by this, and one thing that's really important to me is, I have words that I use, higher self or true self or God. Those are words that I've chosen to use tonight. But one of the most important things that I want, not just that's really a key factor in understanding our own experience, is to use your words. So, that's something that is the point. So if you have different words that you use to insert in there, please use them. That's what we're trying to say. If even I am saying here, this is how you need to do it, it needs to come through your truth and speak through your experience and align with you. So that's one of the ways that we can practice that, is by the vocabulary words that we use. So what comes out of me, let it move into you in a way that serves you perfectly. And that's what we want to do with everything that we teach, that I teach. So the spirit body, so many people have, we have this identification with it, a personal identification with our spirit body. And it's more of an experience than it is, a thing. And so it's difficult to put words to it, but it's that there is a part of us that has deeper understanding. When we go into meditation, there's a part of us that we go into a peaceful state. We're connecting with that part, that higher self, the part that just is, there's no fear there, there's no anxious, there's just calm. And it kind of, it supports and helps the other bodies. It's kind of, to me, almost like a parent to the other bodies. It helps the other bodies, brings them all into alignment and working together. But there's definitely a place there for people that have had spiritual wounds, or sometimes there's something, there's a religious trauma maybe that can cause that to be, to have some vulnerability. And in some cases it can cause a lack in that area. And if it can cause a lack in that area, then maybe it can cause something bigger in that area, something to be overage in that area, which could be physical weight. Well, I don't even know if it's physical, but it is weight, and it's on the scale, and it feels on your body. It's a real thing. But the root of that experience, the root of those things, began in the spiritual body. Next, we have the mental body. So what's interesting about the mental body is it really can't think for itself. The brain itself, and what I mean by that is, it's like a computer, what goes in, what comes out. It's the other bodies, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, combined with the mental body that creates our experience. But as far as just the mental body has no judgment about the information. When something comes into the eye and is seen by the eye, it has no judgment at what it is until it moves into the brain and has a memory, and then creates a name for that. So, but the mental body itself is, it doesn't have its own consciousness. It's just more like a computer. It stores information, it transfers what it receives, and it has usually one good way to look at it is it has its process. So you have the left side of the brain that's very linear, very defined, like structure, and you've got the right that is more open, more creative, expansive. And so they both work together to create, to understand the information that comes in. But sometimes I've had clients that they have found their weight in the mental body because their natural state of being is in a right hemisphere type experience, but their belief is that they need to be in the left side. And so it creates some disharmony there. And the way that the body is chosen to work with that is for weight to come on. So that's a very real experience. So the emotional body is next, and it feels like the real us. We are emotional beings. When like I talked about before, when information comes in through the eye, it's connected to something, or we get a smell in it. It doesn't mean anything until we connect it to what we know that it is, or a memory, and then it can be very powerful. Smells, sounds, those can be powerful things that make our experience more concrete, tangible, and real to us. So our emotional body feels like the real us. It consists of emotions, feelings, and passions. So, and it's childlike in nature. It longs to be given compassionate guidelines. Emotions can kind of run amok. If that body was there all by itself without a mental body or a spiritual body or even a physical body, we would be emotional. And sometimes that body takes over for a time, and we have, if it's a negative, we can have, feelings of depression and those kind of things when that body is in center stage without some of the others, without the balance of the other bodies. We have our physical body, and this is a form, what I would like to call form. It's tangible. It's our definition of the world. It's the thing that we relate to kind of the most, but it's temporary. It can only speak in temporary processes. So it's kind of interesting if you think about that, how true that is, that we have, hunger is a temporary process, or even a pain usually is temporary. It speaks temporary. And what's interesting is sometimes we take those temporary and we take the temporary and we make them our absolute truth, and because it feels true. And that's that sometimes that can cause some problems because because that's just a temporary process asking for a temporary solution, and we've given it a long-term solution. So that's kind of what's going on. So I'd like to start a little bit with the meditation. We're going to go into the 4 bodies, like I said, and what we're looking for, what I'd like you to look for is the idea, some discomfort when we go into that body. If there's any discomfort or maybe some anger, frustration, just take note. Just take note of the experiences that you're having. Just feel as if what's true for you, and it'll become clear. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to move in to the spiritual body. So again, the spiritual body, I'm going to click this and okay, good. Affects the reactions of the other body. So we're going to start here. The spiritual body knows things. It knows it learns on a higher plane. It has understanding on a higher plane. So we want to go there first to create that beginning point. So if you have the opportunity at this point, I recommend that you close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Relaxing your body. Notice the chair underneath you. Just presence yourself in this moment. Relax your body and notice a sweet peace filling your body, starting at your feet and moving up to the top of your head. Allowing that relaxation to move up the body. Notice how light you feel as it moves. And when you're in a state of peace, presence yourself in a white and gold lit room. It is beautiful and inviting. This room feels like home. Smell the beauty of this place. Notice the style of the room, its decor. It's a beautiful place. See colors that you've never seen before. You can experience and hear music that fills the soul. I want you to take a moment and receive what this space has to offer. The creation is there just for you. Embrace how familiar it feels. Recognize yourself as worthy of this place with all the beauty and elegance that it displays. I want you to imagine that you could bring into your presence your higher power. That in some form, there's an embrace of love. And as you experience that love, allow that higher power to present you with a gift. The meaning of that gift may come right away, or you might have to study to understand the meaning of this gift. Put the memory of this place deep inside you so that you can return here whenever you desire. You may hug or embrace your higher power. And when you are ready, return to your chair, breathing as you slowly come back to the present moment. Begin to shift in your chair. And when you are ready, slowly open your eyes. So in the packet that I gave you, I had some questions for you to look at about this spiritual body, the experience with the spiritual body. And I encourage you after we're done here to kind of look through those and kind of write through the experience that you had. Was it a positive experience? What was your interaction with your higher power like? Was that positive? And then describe the gift that you received. I'm always amazed at the gifts that are received and the symbolism that they have as one begins to study and learn about the symbolism of those gifts. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. So take a minute. I hope that you had enough time to have an experience. And for time's sake, we're going to move on to the mental body. So again, the mental body doesn't have a necessary consciousness. It is more like a computer, but it has a purpose. And we want to go into that experience, and we'll do that now. So begin by closing your eyes again, if you have the time and place. Take 3 deep breaths, feeling the air come through the top of the head. And with each breath, feeling the energy of the mind. As I count to 5, imagine the number that I speak in its numerical form. 1. Imagine the number 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. I want you to imagine yourself as a solid being, unable to mold to any other shape. Notice the rigidity, the strength, and power as your solid body resists its surroundings. Experience this solid form. And move from this state and create the feeling of a liquid state. Feel the pull of forming to everything. In this state of forming to every shape, notice the helplessness and loss of control, unable to stop the flow of movement. This fluid feeling as your body slips from every shape it comes in contact with. And from this liquid, move into the gas state. The lightness takes over, and you rise and rise, feeling all space and time all at the same time, all at once. You are expansive, moving forever outward and up. Feel that feeling. And as you're in this state, presence yourself on the right side of the mind, because it too is expansive. It creates, it is boundless. It experiences color and imagines wonderful things. Pay attention to your comfort level in this place of expansion and creativity. Now move from the left side of the mind, and from the left side and into the left side of the mind. And from the left side, recognize the boundaries, the numbers, the formulas. Everything has a perfect place and is in order. It sees and relates. The left side remembers. Does this experience bring a sense of ease and comfort, or no? And at this time, allow the left side and the right side to partner, each acknowledging each of their strengths and coming into balance. And in this experience of the mental body, what does it say concerning your weight? When you have an answer from the mental body, come back to your whole self, and with ease, open your eyes, and at your own pace, you can think about this mental body. And when you describe this experience later on, you're welcome to use words or pictures, draw pictures. Sometimes we need that to describe an experience. So some of the questions that I ask are: describe the experience of being in those 3 states. Understand what it was like to be on the left side and the right, which one felt more at home. And then what did this body teach you about any weight concerns that you have? And we'll move now into the physical body. The physical body is the form or the world that we see. It's beautiful. All these bodies are beautiful. And when they're in harmony, they create our experience that's perfect for our growth and understanding. As we experience the physical body, again, start with 3 deep breaths. And as you take these breaths, feel the chair beneath you. Notice every surface your physical body is in contact with. Become in touch with the physical body. And imagine you could shrink your size down to the size of the cells in your body. Become aligned with the infinite cells that make up your body. See how expansive the cells are. And imagine that you can see all the cells at the same time, in whatever form that takes. And see that as you see the cells, that the cells of the outer world look the same as the cells within us. And you can even imagine that some of the cells in your body break free and join cells, a different group of cells, that those cells can move in and out. See how the cells work together? Notice that the life cycle of the cells are short. And notice how they pass on their knowing to another cell. Experience what that is like. And from the top of your head, begin to move downward through your body, taking note of any changes in the cells. Experience the physical body, starting from the head, moving down through the shoulders and chest at your own pace. As you connect with these cells, the beautiful cells of your body, allow the cells of your body to teach you about joy. When you've received, slowly gather together the cells of your body until your form is whole. Gently and with ease, presence yourself in your chair. Notice the floor under your feet or the bed under supporting you. And when you are ready and with ease, open your eyes and presence yourself back in this present time. So in the physical body, at a cellular level, we are all one in this universe. We all have micro universes within our bodies, and I hope you were able to experience that. And I hope that you were able to learn a little bit of joy from the physical body. Sometimes we don't allow joy to exist in the physical body because we have a lot of shame towards it. There's something we're supposed to do. We compare with someone else, but the body has and knows joy, and we can learn from the body. And we will finish up quickly with the emotional body. The emotional body feels like the real us. It's feelings, passions, emotions. So again, close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, imagining that the breath is coming in and out of your heart, connecting with that heart. And in this state of well-being, close your eyes and imagine that you're in a beautiful room with a beautiful banquet room. And on a long table is a table full of beautiful jars. And each of these jars holds an emotion. Imagine yourself walking toward the table and lifting the jar of shame or guilt. Look inside the jar and give it a color. It may have a scent. Allow the emotion in the jar to bring forward the cells in your body carrying guilt or shame. Feel that emotion for just a moment and ask what percentage of your emotional body carries shame or guilt. Take a deep breath, having compassion for the shame or guilt. Show gratitude to these emotions for playing their part. And let the shame and guilt in your emotional body join the jar, seeing it become more full than it was before. Taking note. And turn to another. When that is complete, turn to another jar. This jar is the emotion of apathy, the emptiness and feeling of having no desire, the feeling of stuck. Look inside this jar and see the color. See if it has a scent. Feel that emotion of apathy for just a moment and ask what percentage your emotional body carries apathy. Have compassion for any apathy. Show gratitude for it served a purpose. It creates a whole being. Let the emotion team up and return all the apathy to the jar, seeing it feel more than what was there before, releasing any apathy. And imagine yourself turning to another jar filled with grief or sadness. Again, see a color, maybe a scent that presents itself. Allow the vibration of that grief to call to the grief within your body. Feel that grief for just a moment. Ask yourself what percentage your body holds and carries grief. Allow compassion for the grief. Thank the grief for its part in your experience. And let your emotion join with the emotions of grief already in the jar, seeing it fill more than what was there before. Another jar holds the emotion of fear. Notice a color, an odor, allow the emotion of fear in the jar to call to the cells in your body holding fear. Feel that emotion for just a moment and ask how much your emotional body carries fear. Take a deep breath, having compassion for your fear. Thank it for playing its part. And allow the fear in your emotional body to join its own kind in the jar. Seeing the jar fill and rise as it collects your fear. And if this fear, in this new jar, another jar is filled with anger. What does that anger look like to you? What color? What consistency? Maybe it has a scent as well. Feel that anger for just a moment and ask yourself what percentage your emotional body carries anger. Allow the anger in the jar to bring from all four corners of the body and allow compassion to arise toward the anger. Thank it for its part in your experience and let your anger join with the anger already in the jar, seeing the jar feel more than it was before. At this time, take 3 deep breaths and see your higher power, whatever you experience that to be, enter the room with a jar much bigger and more beautiful than the other jars. You are asked to open the jar, this beautiful jar, and the color is beautiful. And the smell is so deep and rich that it touches every scent. This is the emotional jar of peace. Imagine that this jar's contents is poured all over your body, and peace fills every cell in each of the 4 bodies. Notice yourself feeling lighter and filled with a pure and deep calm. Allow the body to experience that calm for a few minutes. taking deep breaths, letting that peace fill. Thank you, your higher power, and return slowly and at your own pace to the present moment, bringing that peace with you, allowing it to become part of your DNA. When it feels correct for you, begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, breathing deeply, receiving peace. Feel the chair under you. And when you are ready, slowly open your eyes. So I hope that you had some kind of experience with that meditation. The emotional body has a few pages of questions to kind of go over, give you an idea of what emotions hold in you. These emotions are clues to me about what kind of release can take place and the possibilities for your healing, for the healing that you may have. I again look for any discomfort. Notice there sometimes there's something that comes up and it just feels not right. It's not comfortable, and that is a clue. These are all clues. I want to end tonight before I turn over for some questions. I just love, one of the things I've loved learning about is quantum physics. I love the idea of in physics, there's an experience, there's a concept of particles and photons. The particles are mass and photons are light. And in the quantum world, they can move between, change from one to the other. And I just want to end with that like idea that the possibility of turning mass into light is physically possible, and how beautiful that is. And light meaning enlightening. You know, the journey that we take for 8 weeks is about enlightening and becoming more aware of who you are, and breaking down some of those barriers that have kept you and kept me stuck in these beliefs, beliefs that weren't necessarily true for us. If anybody has any questions, I am happy to answer some. Let's see, for a few minutes.
I unmuted everybody, so you are free to talk. And if you don't have audio, you are welcome to type in the chat box any of your questions for Michelle.
Excellent.
Did anybody find out where their weight was stuck? Can you get such clarity tonight, Michelle?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. When I've done this in the past, people have, you know, like I mentioned earlier, I had one lady that just recognized that she had been living and struggling in a left brain world when she holds naturally a right brain experience. So when we went into that, she could feel the discomfort there and feel that she had forced herself there. And that was one of her key moments.
Wow.
Was that. So it was great.
That's awesome. Does anyone have any questions or want to share where their weight was stuck?
Someone's talking.
Yeah, you're welcome to read that. It said, I had an experience. This is from Paige. I had experienced sadness in the spiritual body. Tears were flowing. Also, my chest felt heavy. Well, that's pretty profound.
Yeah, that's a good clue. I mean, and what's fascinating is that body, that experience, that spiritual body. There's something there that we can look at over a period of time, and experiences in the spiritual body. Sometimes people, there's a lot of feeling like they're not worthy or to have a spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings, and I believe that that the universe is loving, and so there's a similar belief there that I had about I can't be thin because I was a mom of 4. That sounds so simple. It sounds so ridiculous, but that belief was creating my reality, and those beliefs will create the reality. And so, understanding what those beliefs are, take a minute, take some time to go in and really look at it. So
I know that I've been a trainer my whole life. That's what my first degree is. And, I'd have so many people who would come into my studio and just do everything that I said and work so hard, and nothing would shift. And it was just amazing to watch. And when I got into natural health, and like you were saying, like quantum physics and understanding energetics and body armoring and the emotion of it and the mental game of it, it was really part of identity. And, I was heavy my whole life up until college, until I changed my mindset on it. And even after that, I had to work out 6-7 days a week for 2-3 hours at a time and literally starve myself to stay at a weight that was sustainable until I let go of emotional blocks and my relationship with food. And I had to literally change my mind about food, that it wasn't bad, that it was good and nourishing to my body. And it was that one change. And now my statement that I use with everybody is, I love food. I eat tons of, and I eat food all the time. I never struggle with my weight anymore. It just was mind blowing to me to experience that as a trainer, 25 years in the industry. That's why I try to tell people, like, it's not all physical. If calories in and calories out actually work, we would not be the heaviest nation in the world. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have all these issues. So yes, there's a physiological attribute to it, and you talk about that in your course.
Yeah.
But there is more to it. I mean, we body armor. We use it as protection. Your cells hear every single word you say, and it is so vital for people to understand that what you think and what you feel and what you believe actually creates the person that you become from a DNA cellular level. And I mean, that's why your program is so awesome, because it addresses all of them.
I love it. And I, that's one thing I bring up is I even show, at one point, I show you maps throughout the years that they've done studies of the obesity in the United States. And all of the, the obesity level just keeps going up because our focus on it is so contracted and so the belief is so solid in the consciousness that it just keeps we just create more and more obesity because we keep contracting it down. When I think we open it up, and that's what I'm hoping to do, is opening it up. Like you say, I mean, that's why when somebody truly lets their weight go, releases it.
We got to get rid of that word too, right? Loses weight. Like, somebody else is going to find it if they lose it. I don't want to find their 5 pounds.
It's so true. I love that concept. I love it. And the ones that truly release it, they'll say it was easy, and why? Because there was that mind shift. It wasn't, they didn't deprive themselves. The ones that truly release it, it's an exciting process. It doesn't require restriction.
Absolutely. And health gets such a bad rap with deprivation and restriction, especially fitness. I mean, nobody ever walked into my studio like, hey, I'm so glad to be here for you to torture me for an hour. I mean, they would literally drag in. They would pay me to make them exercise. That's how much people resist it. And because it comes with this connotation of negativity. And anytime we figure that we're going to release weight, we release it from the physical and it becomes a state of deprivation. You can't have this, you can't eat that. And no wonder that our body says, wait a minute, I can't. Of course I'm going to attract everything that I don't want, right? Because that's the law of attraction.
Yes.
So people don't want to be heavy. They don't want this. And that's exactly what they get back, because their body is cellular. It's emotional. And I had put in the promo, one of the things that I wrote about your class was, we don't talk about food in the I think mode, right? We talk about it about how I feel. I feel like having a cheeseburger. I love chocolate. Oh my gosh, chips are my guilty pleasure. Like, no one says, I really think my physiological body needs to have some protein. Like, they don't say that. You know what I mean? It's a relationship you have with food, right? It's not a conscious thought process. It's a subconscious process. And we choose every single decision we make in our life comes from a subconscious thought process. And what is that limiting belief that's making your choices every day, even in this? So Paige had another comment. I think I disconnected my mind from my body because I didn't like how I looked and how I felt. Yeah, Paige, I used to have women come in and tell me, this isn't me. Okay. I'm trapped in this body. Yes. This isn't who I am. And it was okay. So it was totally amazing.
Completely unrelated to anything I'm even looking at. I just opened up Instagram and was thinking everything.
I don't know. Somebody's talking, so I'm not sure who it is. They're talking about Instagram. So.
But I think that's a survival mechanism. To disconnect is the survival mechanism. Because if we stay in that feeling of dis-ease within ourselves, it takes over. And so one of the easiest ways is to disconnect. And the thing is that's not wrong. We need to give ourselves permission that we needed that in the moment, but we need to have a process to go back there and move through that experience. In the moment, we're just trying to survive. But as we know better, as we move forward, we can work through back to that and find where that disconnect came from and heal that. Yes. It's calling out for healing. Yeah. And that's one of the things is that's really important to me, is that at the beginning, there needs to be some respect for any excess weight that you have, because it was needed at the moment. I think people's experiences are beautiful because it's theirs, because it didn't exist before. It's a creation of that individual. And so it deserves some respect and beauty. So if we can take a moment and respect that and come from a place of peace with where we are and where we have been, then we can move forward. But a lot of times we're just so ashamed of where we've been, we disconnect from it. That's because it's hurtful.
That is such a great point.
Yeah. So
That's a beautiful point.
Yeah. And I just, I'm done. I want the world to move away from guilt and shame when it comes to their body, regardless of what it looks like. Let's move past that and evolve from the need to have our bodies look a certain way.
That's just a society limiting belief that's bestowed upon us, and we accept it as our own. And the limiting belief factor, we could go on forever. And I know you address it in your course and overcoming it. I think we talked before, the same thing goes with health. People will come in to see me and sit down, and they're so mad at their bodies. They're so mad that they're sick. And I tell them the very first thing we talk about is that your body never does anything wrong. It gives you all the right signals and signs to get you to the exact place you need to be in that moment. Give it gratitude that it gave you a signal to get you to the right place to receive the help that you're now open to receive. And if people are on this webinar, they're ready. They're ready to make that change. They're ready. They're here for a reason. There's no accidents. And that's the thing. Like, people can come and be like, oh, I came across this link on whatever. It's divine intervention. It's there because you're ready. And so I hope they embrace it. I hope that, they figure out where that weight is stuck and release those emotions that are tied to it. The same way with people that are on a health journey, even if they have a dis-ease of the body, there's an identity tied to it. And even when they get better, we work on who are you going to be now that you don't have this ailment, that you're healthy and fit and strong. Now, who do you want to become? And we have to actually create a new identity. And that happens with people that lose weight on the physical level, but not the emotional, mental, or spiritual. They still feel overweight. They still feel fat. They still feel bad inside. But their outside body looks great. And I can tell you, when I was 25, my body was slamming. You could bounce quarters off of me.
Right.
And I was a trainer. I was professional. I was working out. Like, I looked great. And I thought I was so fat. I wore big baggy t-shirts. I look back at pictures now and I'm thinking, what was wrong with me? You know?
Right.
But today at 44, I've had 2 kids. I got a C-section scar. Things jiggle when they're not supposed to. Things are a little bit lower. And you know what? I just think I am the bomb. So, you know,
I love it.
I walk around like, yeah, this is what you get. It's awesome. Check it out. Beautiful inside, beautiful outside. I love it. And that took me so long to get there. And if we can help people see that, see how beautiful they really are, and give their body gratitude for every single inch, for every inch that you are, and then release the experience that's keeping it there, you're going to transform, not only physically, but you're going to transform emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You get to become a whole new person. And I just think that's the most amazing thing to watch, is somebody become, you know, who they're really supposed to be in life. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to stop talking because that's enough of me. Does anybody have any questions at all about anything? Or Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle, this is me, and I actually didn't know we were doing a meditation, so I was making dinner while we were but I look forward. I believe it's being recorded. Is that correct?
It is. Yes, you will receive a recording. Okay. I didn't do the meditation either, so I'll meditate with you.
I can't wait to actually do the meditation. But even without doing it, that last part that you went through, where we're releasing, what was it? All of our
emotions. Like,
our higher being was giving us peace. Was that it? Giving us peace. It was like I just lost it right then, you know, and without being even in meditation. So
I'm so happy. I hope that all of you will take a leap of faith in understanding the worth that you hold. There's nothing like you in the universe, and that is the most precious commodity in the entire universe, is you. And I hope that you will be brave enough and have faith enough to accept at least some portion of that into your being on a daily basis. That is my number one goal in life, is for people to know that on a cellular level. I feel as if that will change the world, because if I hold reverence for myself, if I have to stop imagining that I'm enough and I know it, then I am kinder to my neighbor, and peace will exist worldwide. So I love that you were able to experience that. I want you to have that experience 24/7. And like Tracy said, you know, I'm all that. I love that. I teach my kids, there's only one person that you have to convince, and that's yourself. And you know, I myself have done so much of my own healing with someone helping me and walking me through it. And at this point, when I was kind of called to become this kind of healer, I kept hearing a message in my mind that says you need to be a placeholder. I didn't know what that meant. But at this point in our evolution, I have found nothing better than to have somebody hold the place for you to do healing. And that's what I want to offer, is I'm willing to hold place for you as you learn to become that true, authentic self. And we push through the barriers that may be stopping that. That is my deepest desire, is for you to experience that peace 24/7. And hopefully we'll move into another consciousness where we can just work through it on our own. But as we make that transition, having somebody hold that space for you, I have found is so helpful. And that's what I would like to offer, is that holding space. And I hope that you take this opportunity. If there's anything that I can do, if I can be a part of that, I would be thrilled to hold that space for you to transition into this balance of all these bodies and bringing them into balance. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, that was a great one. Everybody will receive an email follow-up as a thank you. So check your inboxes, and thank you for joining us. Are there any more questions or experiences that anyone wants to share? Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time, and thank you everybody for being here. You will receive a recording of this, so check your email. Let me convert it in a couple hours and I will get it out.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Stay in contact. I'm very active on Instagram as Michelle Wingle. That's my Instagram. I'd love to stay in contact with you. I'm grateful that you took your time to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you,
absolutely. Thank you. And we'll look forward to hosting some classes with you very soon.
Excellent.
All right, everybody. Have a blessed, beautiful night. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.